Shalom, y'all. Man, I don't even want to talk about that shit, but we're just having like a day or two ago, but that's here nor there. But listen, so I'm sitting here watching this video, right? So, do y'all know in Europe, right? So you know the King's Guard, right? You know, the guys that wear the red cloak jackets with the bushy hats. So do y'all know that when they wear that, that is actually a mockery to the Moors? Not the Moors, the Moors. It's a mockery to the Moors because the original King's Guard, the bushy hat was their hair. You know, like an afro, but they just tapered it up, like how remember how play hair used to be, Kid and Play. Remember, it used to have a what they used to call that shit. I can't remember what the fuck they used to call that shit. A high top, was it a high top fade? I can't fucking remember. But regardless, so when you see these Caucasian men standing there with the red coats on, with the bushy wool hat, it's actually a mockery to the original King's Guard, which were melanated men, the Moors, and that was their actual hair. When I tell y'all I couldn't pick my fucking jaw up off the floor, I was just like, oh, this is crazy. Like, these motherfuckers is playing in our face at every turn. Every direction they can turn, they just right there, just, you know what I mean, on some bullshit. It's just like, y'all, listen. If y'all don't see what's happening, the Most High is making it. Remember, he said, men will run to and fro, and knowledge will be increased. Right? Remember that. So now, all the history, all the hidden shit is being revealed. So listen. This is why I said this some years back. I said, imagine if you could remember everything that was done to you in your last former lives or whatever, right? Because I know you get recycled. That I definitely know. But just imagine, like, you know, somebody killing your wife or killing you and your wife and hanging your child and hanging you in a tree and set your body on fire, all that type of shit. And you could remember all that shit, right? So this is damn near kind of like what's going on, because if you think about it, right? Just think about what I'm saying. All this horrible history, all this trifling, fucked up, evil shit that they have done to our people is literally being revealed. And eventually, motherfuckers gonna start getting mad, y'all. Because it's gonna get to a point where you're gonna say, you know, how long are you gonna be able to put up with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how long are you gonna sit there and just say, okay, well, you know, my ancestors did it, and then you realize that they literally living off of the stolen goods, the stolen everything. Because with the slavery thing, they telling you that was bullshit. That was, and I keep telling y'all that. That's why I hate to do this, because I understand some people don't know, because you got other people constantly pushing that garbage, you know, where these people just came over here and just took you and you know what I mean, and put you on a boat from another land, and you just couldn't fight back, and they were just so powerful, and it was only 20 something of them on each boat. But you see what I'm saying? But then they so scared of your fucking children that they gotta shoot them in the back or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this, right? And listen, I hate to, I ain't gonna say I hate to say, but I've actually encountered some some pretty decent ass white people. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, some of them that just ain't with that shit. That's just like, that shit ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess they putting themselves in our shoes and sitting here saying like, yo, like, y'all really prisoners of war, and a lot of y'all don't know it, and a lot of us don't understand what real freedom is. You know what I'm saying? Because real freedom, you don't get pulled over. See, when people come here as citizens and sign up for the citizenship of the corporation, right? Because that's what your citizenship is. When you become an American, you're a citizen of the corporation of the United States. That's all it is, the Lincoln Company. So they volunteer themselves to be subjected to all these things. We never volunteered for this stuff. They changed our nationality so that they can do what they've been doing. We don't supposed to be paying them water bills, electric bills, taxes, property taxes. We don't supposed to be paying for nothing. So this is why when you go to certain places on this side of the earth, in the United States and Mexico and South America, and you see in these temples and different historical places, you see melanated people with dreadlocks wearing gold chains and gold rings and, dress a certain way, because, we not a dress and all that. And then they lie and tell you some bullshit. But it's like, where in your mind is it going to click and say to yourself, like, wait a minute, we do that right now? I mean, where? And then a lot of us gotta understand, y'all, a lot of people that are pushing that out of Africa bullshit, they not your people. They not. Because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And the main thing I keep telling people to look into is that more on more war. Because that Jacob and Esau story is a real story, but he's not pink. He's not a Caucasian man. And I keep pointing that out, and all you got to do is just read it for yourself. If I told you my son came out red all over like a hairy garment, you're not going to sit there and tell me that my son was light-skinned. You're not. You're going to sit there and tell me, so what, he had a lot of fucking red hair all over his body? Because that's the key word in that subject. He came out red all over like a hairy garment. If a motherfucker's hairy, you're not really going to see their skin that much. You'll see their hair. So if he's hit red all over like a hairy garment, that means his hair was red. That's what it was. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? And they got y'all believing that these camps and stuff and these guys, they got y'all believing that these white people are kin to you, and they're not. Y'all know they gotta take like what they told me, some type of the woman gotta take some kind of pills or something, if a white woman, if she get pregnant by one of us, because of the how I don't know, there's something with our DNA or something like that. But all I'm saying is this, y'all need to read the shit for what it's saying, not for what somebody telling you. That Jacob and Esau story is real. Caucasian people were not involved in that war, what they call the Civil War, whatever the first war, when what was it, 7 nations attacked us at one time? I think it was 7. Yeah, because I think Russia took Alaska. Those were melanated people that attacked the melanated people. If you get the book called King Philip's War, it actually describe who they were fighting. And it was the Moors fighting the Moors. The Moors attacked the Moors. We are considered the Moors. The Moors are the M-O-O-R, and the Moors are the M-U-U-R. But we are kin. We're kin. And that's the Jacob and Esau story by Isaac. Isaac. Remember, his wife had 2 sons, twins. One came out. They just told you he just came. Jacob was born clasping Esau's heel or whatever, right? And then, this is another thing too. A lot of people like to add the story of Eve into the Jacob and Esau story. That's actually a whole separate thing, y'all. That's a whole separate thing, because when you really sit back and read the Cain and Abel story, you gotta pay attention to what you read, because it's trickery in the words, and once you see it, you ain't gonna be able to unsee it. You know what I'm saying? When Eve allegedly gave birth to Cain, she said the Lord gave me a man. She ain't say I had a son in the image of Adam in his likeness. That only happened with Seth. And then when you read the lineage of Adam, the generations of Adam, the first child that was named was Seth. It wasn't no Cain, it wasn't no Abel. So that's talking about two different people warring against each other. But the thing is, Abel never had a chance to make a bloodline. Cain did. But Cain made his bloodline after he got ejected out of the garden. And you got to ask yourself, and I pointed this out, it says at the gate of the garden, right? At the gate, and I said this before, the entrance, the gate of the garden, the Most High put a cherubim and a flaming sword, right? You show me a landmass on this earth that's walled in with a gate. But I could show you something that's walled in with a gate. That Arctic wall that has a gate that you enter in and out. And outside of that, they call that the terrestrial lands. Think about it. What if when we started worshiping, idols and stuff like we do now, the Creator removed the cherubim, and this coincides with the part of the prophecy where he says in Deuteronomy that I will send a people who you nor your fathers have known. Now think about it. Remember, he said he would guard us from everybody. Nobody would be able to get to us or nothing like that. What if that's what he was talking about? What if the whole earth is the garden, right? And the ice wall was the barrier around it, and then you have the entrance, which was gated off. Because think about it. Why, when Admiral Byrd tried to get out, they met resistance? Remember, they was talking about the UFOs and all this other shit, right? So let's just say that. What if he allowed these people to come in here? Think about that. I'm just saying. What if Cain's seed was not in the earth area? What if he got booted out on the other side of the ice wall? And once we started doing what we was doing, they were allowed to come back in. Like, scale up what we're being told. What if it's not just a land? You see what I'm saying? What if the garden was the whole earth? The whole earth was the garden, and outside of the garden were the other lands. I'm gonna let y'all think about that, and y'all tell me. Shalom.